Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. So I recently sat down and watched the entire mic'd up version of the Super Bowl. We have so many studs in this organization. It's unbelievable. We got Nick Sirianni's version of You Want Philly, Philly. You got Saquon Barkley being the best leader on planet Earth. Every time I hear him speak, every time I see him lead, and I'm not talking about his production on the field. I'm saying when we get a glimpse of the perfect, beautiful human being that Saquon Barkley is, I question how the hell the New York Giants let that man leave their franchise. I don't want to hear it. That, well, we can't pay that much for a running back. I don't want to hear it. That, well, the Giants wouldn't have been better off with the RB, knowing that there's so many other holes. Like, what are you doing? You don't let people like that ever walk out of your building. And he was essentially begging the Giants to keep it. Please, please. I love it here. I want to be here. I love New York. And they still kicked his ass to the curb. Thank you. Thank you for being idiots. Thank you for being incompetent. Thank you for having people in your franchise that essentially, they deliver malpractice every single time they speak and every action they make. Thank you. Saquon Barkley. I don't want to diminish anybody else on this team because this was a collective effort. They played complementary football to a T. When you open up the dictionary and you try and get a definition of what complementary football is, it's the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. It is such a perfect blend. So trust me, there's a lot more to this than just Saquon. But my God, was Saquon Barkley such a massive piece to this thing being real? For this thing ending the way that it ended, for this season being as special as it was, Saquon Barkley was an insane part of this. He's the best. He's the best. So during this mic'd up version of the Super Bowl, right? A few things. I guess I'll start with Saquon. But when they are blowing the Chiefs out, the way he's walking to his teammates on the sideline, and I know this is tough to visualize if you're just listening to the audio version, which you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you leave a 5-star rating and a review, that would help out tremendously with the algorithm. So do not forget, if you're a YouTube watcher, you can take me on the road with you. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see my hand movements here. He was essentially saying, stay here, saying, stay even keel, stay in the right headspace, stay in the right attitude, or, have the right attitudes. Stay where we need to be until that clock hits 0. It's 0-0. The score is tied. We are not up. We have to stay focused. Stay here. Stay here. And that's the type of stuff that matters when you're in the moment, when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the grind. And Jalen said something not exactly that same way, but he knows what it feels like to lose a game when you have a double-digit lead in the Super Bowl to that team. So when guys are walking up to Jalen, when they're up 34-0, when they're up 20+0, he goes, dude, I'm scarred. I can't smile right now. Super Bowl 57 destroyed me. Super Bowl 57 fucked with my head. There is no smiling until this thing is officially over. But when you see them during these pressured moments and, they're in the middle of this game and it's 7-0 and it's 10-0 and they're starting to improve and get a bigger lead, and you can just see the way that they stayed so focused. That is credit to Nick Sirianni. That's credit to Vic Fangio. That's credit to Kellen Moore. That's credit to Saquon Barkley. That's credit to Jalen Hurts. And, man, it was so clear what team came out with more piss and vinegar, and it was by such a wide margin. I sound like a broken record. If you go back to last week and the week before, the entire 14 days of podcasting, okay, where I gave you my opinion and my feel on how this game was going to go, I was constantly spreading the noise or spreading the news that this is going to be a team that plays so inspired that they are going to outwork and outcompete Kansas City. But if I'm using a 1 to 10 scale, I thought the Eagles would play at a 12 and the Chiefs would play at a 9.5. The thing is, I don't want to make this seem like the Chiefs just had a bad day, but the Eagles played at a 25, which made the Chiefs play at a 1, if that, probably 0.5, probably 0.25. That's how bad of an ass whooping it was. But the Eagles came out and played maybe at a 50 on a 1 to 10 scale. It was so clear and obvious in the mic'd up episode how much more the Eagles wanted it, how much more prepared they were as a group, how much they were so obsessed with winning. It was impossible for them to lose. The energy was contagious. Milton Williams on the sideline, high-fiving his teammates and jumping up and down after making such an incredible play. And everybody was feeling that juice. Everybody was feeling that momentum. Everybody was buying in. And it was definitely soaking into the fabric of who they were on that day. And it reached such a high level and a high dose that it is physically impossible to match what the Eagles were providing, and not just match it, because what you would have to do is match it and then some. You'd have to even add more fuel. You can't. You can't. And Nick Sirianni walking on the sideline saying, call it. We score here. We win the game. Call it. And there's the deep shot to Devontae Smith to go up 34-0. We keep saying the number. We keep talking about how much of a blowout it is. But when you really think about it, do you know how gnarly it is to be up 34-0 in the Super Bowl in the third quarter? That is a whole new level of obliteration. That is a whole new level of insanity. You don't do that. That's not a thing. What the Eagles just did is not a thing. But it was, because they are so great, because they are so elite. But on the biggest stage against a team that is that familiar with the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are constantly going there year after year after year. You know, maybe that ended up hurting them because they feel they could just roll the ball out and win because, well, they're the Chiefs. I don't know. So maybe that did end up biting them in the ass. But ultimately, you don't beat teams 34-0. And I keep saying 34-0 because 40-22 is a joke. 40-22, if I'm in the NFL upper management or if I work for the National Football League, I'm changing the record books. It was not 40-22. It was not. I'm not even giving the Chiefs their damn 6 points. That was a fucking shutout. That was an absolute obliteration. Go fuck yourself. The Chiefs and Pat Mahomes scored 0 points in my mind. I actually get aggravated thinking that this was an 18-point game. Seriously, you know what's funny? It was an 18-point lead. Do you know how hard it is to win in the Super Bowl by almost 20 points? It was so bad, and it was beautiful for me. It was good for me. It was great for me. It was the best for me. But it was so bad for the Chiefs that almost a 20-point loss, everybody who watched the game and watched the action play out, they all say the same thing. Well, it wasn't even that close. Close! We're talking about almost 20! It wasn't that close. Almost 20! In the bowl, in the big dance! Wow, man, wow. Score here, it's over. Call it, says Nick Sirianni, the guy who has been ridiculed for not having that much of an impact. And I was one of them. And I'll preface it every time by saying that because I won't run away from it. But damn it, I love you, Nick. I love you, Nick. Him jumping up and down, screaming after big touchdowns are scored. It's contagious. The Nick Sirianni experience, it's the perfect blend. It's the perfect mix with Vic Fangio, with Jalen Hurts. It works. It really does. All right, so why don't we now transition a little bit into some of the locker clean-out day? Because, listen, as much as we got the parade coming, that's me snapping, by the way. As much as we got the parade coming, things move quickly. You're actually starting behind the 8 ball when transitioning into next year. Jeffrey Lurie even spoke out. Zach Berman put out a tweet about comp picks and knowing some of these free agents aren't going to sign back with us. Now listen, Milton Williams is in the locker room with a Clutch Sports hoodie on. I'll tell you for free, that man leaving. That dude's walking out the door. And, hey, I appreciate you. I want a race. I want some dough, which, hey, he's entitled to take that approach. But when you're standing there on locker cleanout day after you win a championship, knowing you're a UFA and you got a Clutch Sports logo branded right on your chest and you can't miss it with 60 cameras in your face, you know exactly what you're doing. But here's Zach Berman's tweet from one day ago. This was tweeted on February 12th. So what day? That would be a Wednesday. Win the Super Bowl on Sunday. Here's Wednesday, the owner of the team. Jeffrey Lurie said the Eagles are preparing for comp picks in 26. That should be a hint that they know they're going to lose key free agents and they won't make as many big signings on the unrestricted market. I think they're prepared to lose a Josh Sweat. It seems like that's been part of sort of the I don't know, just the path that this was trending on. It kind of felt Josh Sweat was inevitably going to be gone. I don't know how the Zach Bond stuff is going to play out. See, part of me goes, you found someone special. You make sure you keep someone special. The other part of me goes, well, they found Zach Bond. So if they found Zach Bond, why don't they think they're just going to find the next guy? And because of the way that Howie Roseman is savvy and he does stuff with his money, sometimes when you splurge in certain areas, there's going to be other areas that get hit. And maybe you're able to bring in CJ GJ, pay Saquon Barkley, get AJ and Devontae their money, sign your offensive line to make sure they're sound and structured, right? Bring in some of these names and sign them and keep them here. But when you do that, hey, the linebacker position doesn't get the same amount of percentage of the cap to it. That's how this goes. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. Also, Nakobe Dean's injury, though, and his recovery time, I think has to play a factor into this. Do you pay Mekhi Becton? Do you not pay Mekhi Becton? He's phenomenal, and that's a big offensive line, and they wear you down. But at the same time, can you plug and play anybody because of the greatness of Jeff Stoutland? And maybe that's the way that you can maybe look to keep someone like Zach Bond and you move off of a Mekhi Becton. I'm just spitballing out loud, and these are very early thoughts on this as I am still preparing for a parade. I can't get into next year and all that stuff, big picture, until I at least witness the parade. Then you hit the turning point. But I just think it's important to note that your owner, 3 days after winning the championship, is already sort of focused on, the 2026 stuff because, well, when you do play this deep into the season and when you are the last team standing, there are squads that have gotten ahead of you and have started to do some more research and start getting active and start looking ahead at the draft and looking at their internal moves way before you do. There's teams looking for offensive coordinators that started their journey X amount of weeks ago, while the Eagles now have to figure out what they're going to do with that open spot now that Kellen Moore is gone. So it is appreciation mode, and it is we're so happy and we're so thrilled. We're going to celebrate, and we deserve a parade. At the same time, Howie Roseman is just as obsessed with winning as anybody else is in this franchise that takes the field every single day. And when you have a culture set like that, you soak in it, but at the same time, it's turn the page quickly because I want to go back to back, So just something to think about. But I thought Jalen Hurts just put on an insane display during his locker cleanout day. So I want you to listen to the very last sentence in this clip. This is courtesy of Elliott Shore Parks. It's 48 seconds. And a lot of the questions that are being asked has something to do with what's it feel like to be a champion. Jordan Mailata was on the afternoon show on WIP, and he said it hasn't really sunk in yet. And a lot of guys, I think when you're going on TV shows left and right and you're shotgunning beers on TV and things are constantly moving, you don't have a chance to breathe yet. The parade is coming up. You probably don't even have enough time to allow it to digest, you know? But here's Jalen Hurts talking about Super Bowl 59 and just, you know, everything that's transpired over the last few days. But specifically, listen until the very, very end and the last sentence he says, because it is why Jalen Hurts is so great. It is why Jalen Hurts is outstanding. It is why you cannot take Jalen Hurts for granted. And he's everything that you would ever want out of a Super Bowl, my bad, sorry, I have the Super Bowl in my mind because the Eagles are Super Bowl 59 champions. He is everything you want in a franchise quarterback. And in this clip specifically, he was asked about what he meant on the sideline on Super Bowl 59 when he said losing Super Bowl 57, quote, changed his soul. So this was his remark to what he said during the mic'd up episode.
What I was saying was, you know, just my mentality transforming. It was just a transformation for me. And you have formative experiences that form who you are, you know, and it's all been based off the same foundation of who I am. But, you know, for so long I put tons of effort into improving, trying to be the best that I can be. But going through everything that I've gone through, you learn the value of winning, you know, and it's like you winning is beating the opponent, improving is beating yourself, and I think both are required to be great and be remembered in history. But I just think there was more of a, I could say more of a, I just say the desire to win just burned like it never burned.
Oh no, it cut off. Quote, my desire to win burned like it never burned before. And then he also goes on and discusses how when you lose, that pain that you have when you lose in Super Bowl 57, it is more impactful than the feeling after you win the Super Bowl. So my man is still obsessed with losing. My man is still obsessed with that pain and that struggle. That man is still thinking about what it felt like when he was sitting there with the wrong colored confetti falling on his face, even though he felt the glorious feeling of it being green and white. He felt the amazing feeling of winning Super Bowl MVP. He felt incredible when he was standing up there and he had the trophy in his hands and he was standing next to Howie. He was standing next to Lori. He was standing next to Saquon. He was smoking the cigars in the locker room. He was sitting on the ground staring at his reflection in the Super Bowl trophy, thinking about the hard work and everything that transpired in Super Bowl 57, being up double digits, having the fumble, the team losing. That still wears him down more than the excitement of winning. That's all you ever dream to have when you think about a perfect franchise quarterback, is that mentality, is that approach. It's Tom Brady-like. I'm not telling you Jalen Hurts is Tom Brady, but I'm telling you Tom Brady thought about this shit differently. Tom Brady was obsessed with winning in a way where when he did lose in the Super Bowl, when he did lose in a big game, when he had a moment where he could look back and reflect and maybe have 8 or 9 championships, the fact that he missed out on 2 more or 3 more, that crushes his soul, and it probably hurts more than thinking about some of those rings that he has on his fingers. They're rare, okay? They don't grow on trees. And the fact that you have that coming from Jalen Hurts, but you also have A.J. Brown taking it to Instagram saying this isn't hitting the way that I thought because I'm more obsessed with the journey and I'm more obsessed with getting there and I'm more obsessed with chasing it. That's what special athletes do. That's what athletes who are wired in a way that wins championships do. And the fact that we have that set up as our foundation right now, and Howie, same thing. Howie has it, Hurts has it, AJ has it. I mean, come on. There's probably plenty more that just haven't been as vocal with it, or they just approach it differently, or they haven't gotten there yet, but they will over maybe like the next week or two as they look ahead, right? I mean, everybody's path is different. Everybody's timeline's different when you're coming off of such an emotional high the way this team and this group has. But, I mean, look, this is the perfect response to winning a championship. It really is. And you know what? Chris Long shared a story as well about Jalen Hurts after the NFC Championship game when he was in the locker room. And this is, again, to highlight the uniqueness of Jalen, why he's elite. You wonder, hey, if he can't throw the ball as great as others, how does he separate himself? And if he doesn't have the big arm like Josh Allen, if he doesn't have the flashiness like Lamar Jackson, which, by the way, these cats can't beat Pat Mahomes. These cats can't perform like Pat Mahomes. And Jalen Hurts has outdueled Pat Mahomes twice now. And by the way, he did it against Spags, who is regarded as the best defensive coordinator in the game. If not one, he's up there as one or two. And he is getting glizzies left and right from everybody who talks about, oh, Spags this, Spags that. Yeah, Spags can go because Jalen Hurts just kicks his ass every time he matches up against him in the Super Bowl. Let that sink in. But you know what? Maybe he doesn't have the same arm as some of the gunslingers in the league. How does he do it then? His mental makeup. His mental makeup is elite. His mental makeup is special. Why is A.J. Brown reading books on the sidelines? He talks about how much this game is mental. And these two guys are very important to the fabric of this team. And that's the way these two guys think, and that's their strong suit, on top of A.J. being a monster and being legitimate and a force that nobody can ever do anything against. I mean, AJ can eat against anybody in this league consistently. So he's got it physically, he's got it mentally. You know, Jalen's got a phenomenal set of tools as well, but he clearly shines with his mental approach. He's checking at the line of scrimmage nonstop for plays that result in big gains. You ever 70 yards in the Super Bowl again. You know how impressive that is? But anyway, here's Chris Long and his story on Jalen after the NFC Championship game in the locker room.
You know, when we saw them in the locker room after the NFC Championship game, and I'll say it now, like, it was like a party in there. You know, when I first saw it, I was like, holy shit, this team's confident. But boy, should they have been. That dude, though, had his head down, was walking around focused, looked like they just won a preseason game. And, you know, shook his hand, and I said, hey, go finish it, you know. And what he said to me, actually, I'm not claiming to be his friend. I don't talk to Jalen a lot. I've run into him maybe 2-3 times in my life. He said, it's already been written. I'll never forget that.
I got chills.
And what that is belief. It's resolve. And that's between the ears, which is the hardest thing as a football player. And so congratulations to Jalen Hurts.
Think about that. You win the NFC Championship game. Your whole entire team is partying, going nuts. You put up 50-plus against a division rival who all week long you were hearing narratives about how it was so hard to stop Jaden Daniels because he's too poised and too calm, as if that's not Jalen Hurts to a T, by the way, because he can match Jaden Daniels in that stupid poise that he has. You know, Jalen's got that and some. Jalen's got that and even more. So shut your damn mouth about Jaden Daniels. And as you see Chris Long, he goes, stories already written. Come on, man. So, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it more than anything in the entire world. Who Jalen Hurts is, what he has become, just in general. This is it. This is everything you dream of when thinking about a franchise quarterback. You can't ask for anything better. You can't ask for anything more perfect from the mental side of the game than Jalen Hurts. And he's not going anywhere. This kid's 26. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. Should have 2 Super Bowl rings. He started out 10-1 after losing a Super Bowl. That's not normal. And I don't expect the collapse to be a standard thing either. I don't know many guys that go from 10-1 Go from losing a Super Bowl to 10-1 to start the next season. I know it flopped, and I get that. And he was a part of it, just like Nick was a part of it, just like a lot of the coordinators were a part of it. And I'm aware that happened afterwards. But I still do value how teams who lose, they don't have those starts of the season. I don't know what the hell happened after that. But I do know that, you know what makes you a special group? You know what makes you a special leader if you're Nick Sirianni? You go through that and you respond by going to win a Super Bowl. Through 4 weeks, really, in the offseason, there was a real discussion by the front office on if he should get fired. They were contemplating it. They were thinking about it. They at least had dialogue about it. It's a big deal. Then 4 weeks in, it got even louder. So Nick went through all that and had them rally together, buy in, not point any fingers, not start blaming everybody and, have the whole locker room and the aura crumble and all that stuff. No, if anything, it probably helped them rally together. But there's something unique about the group and the leadership of the group if that's how you rally together. And to form a relationship that instead of pointing fingers, the natural way to attack is we have to find a way. And not only do we have to, we are going to. And we are going to set the record straight that we are a damn good football team. We are an elite football team, and we're good enough to go win a fucking Super Bowl. And we're going to show the entire world that. That's hard to do and hard to sell when you're 2-2 after a collapse like last season and a rough start to this year. That's hard to do. That noise got loud, real loud. So credit to everybody. All right, so here's Greg Cosell on Jalen Hurts after watching the tape on Sunday. Listen to what Greg Cosell had to say about QB1.
And Steen played some snaps for Becton, and Steen struggled too. So it was not, in the run game, it was not a great performance by the Eagles' O-line. And look, they made enough plays. You can never discount, and in some ways it's the magic sauce of Hurts, but in the second half he had those 3 back-breaking runs, scrambles. That's a major part of his game, and it's a really important part of his game. And they were spying too, and he beat the spy. And he made a couple of great throws. I thought the sideline back shoulder fade to Brown, which was a 3rd and 7 play, was a great, couldn't have been placed any better. That was as good a throw as you'll see. And believe it or not, I thought a throw that's probably not going to be talked about at all. It was, I think, 3rd and 7, and he hit Smith for 9 yards for a first down. And the reason I love that play is because they showed pressure, okay? And then they backed out of it right at the snap. And Hurts read it immediately, hit his back foot, and delivered the football to Smith.
Come on, man. Come on. And I'm supposed to believe by the dopes out there that Jalen doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I say this all the time when it comes to Jalen. There are so many nice, solid, standard, fundamental, strong throws that he makes consistently that just don't ever get appreciated because when you watch the game, you say, oh, that was just a 7-yard pass, or hey, that was just a nice throw on 3rd down and it was 3rd and 6. But if you do that, a 3rd and 9 to Devontae Smith, right? I'm just, throwing it out there. He makes a lot of throws that are just solid, solid throws, solid, good throws. They don't wow you, and he throws wild throws too. Devontae 34-0. Jahan Dotson 1-on-1 coverages to A.J. Brown on the outside. He throws beauty throws too. But there's a lot of throws that he makes consistently that just go into the category of ho-hum. All right, he didn't do anything special. No. You don't get it. What separates great from good and from elite from great and all that stuff is making those plays nonstop, is being consistent with those throws all the time. Barely making mistakes on those throws. And Jalen does it way more than he gets credit for. Because probably some assume, well, you have to make those plays. Well, people don't, okay? People make mistakes. People overthrow. People underthrow. People throw it right in the chest of DBs. It happens all the time. Jalen did so much well in that game, more than just the sexy plays, more than just the wow plays. And I want it to be credited. All right? So there's that. What else do I got for you? Yo, you know who deserves a lot of credit? James Bradberry. James Bradberry just shut up, was not a distraction, was not a problem, switched positions, never got time, this and that. And he went on to talk about it that, he's looking into maybe the next step in his career and coaching and felt like he was very important to the leadership and helping out. Think about this, too. Now, part of that is James Bradberry. And if James Bradberry is that type of high character guy, then credit to him, right? Because not everybody would take that route as a veteran. But that also is a testament to Nick Sirianni, because he's selling a certain role to all these guys. Mano y mano, one-on-one, come into my office. This is how I see you. This is your usage. This is what I think about you. This is how I see you. This, that, the third. Everybody's got their own talk with coach. I'd imagine James Bradberry's talk wasn't exactly what James Bradberry wanted to hear. But do you check out? Do you still have him focused? Do you still have him ready? Do you still have him bought in? So it's almost credit to both. James Bradberry for being that awesome of a pro, and Nick Sirianni making sure that this is a very family-oriented locker room where that type of role can be accepted, can be believed in, and be a monster part of this team. And James Bradberry looks at himself as a monster part to this team, as he should, because I'm sure he brought a ton to the table. How much have we talked about our secondary being young, right? You're young, making impact plays in the Super Bowl? Quinyon, you don't think James Bradberry had anything to do with Quinyon? No, I'm not telling you James Bradberry's why Quinyon Mitchell's great, but I'm saying you don't think there was any knowledge spread? You don't think there was any information spread? It's the same team that's got Nolan Smith jumping up and down after the game's over saying, I love talking to Vic Fangio because he's got so much information from this game. I just want to soak it all in. Quinyon, Coop, that mentality, that approach, and a James Bradberry in the room, it's all added guidance. And that stuff goes a long way. And I think James Bradberry deserves a ton of credit. Who else deserves a ton of credit is Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott deserves a ton of credit. That guy went out there and he did his thing in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage after there were a ton of questions about him and what was going on. So just remarkable. It really is, this whole thing. I went a little long. So, I like to stay around the 30-minute mark. I guess maybe I'll save some of the anytime hotline calls that came in over the last day. But again, 856-442-9805. If you want to climb in and leave your reaction, you can do that. Where I want you to go from here, though, is I think we should end here. This is hysterical. Cowboys fans are broken. Cowboys players are broken. Dak Prescott saying all kinds of rubbish about how they're not far off from the Birds. Okay, you're pretty embarrassing. Look at that cap hit. You're pretty far. Micah Parsons wants to be an Eagle more than anybody in the history of the NFL. And then CeeDee Lamb admits into a microphone during an interview that Eagles fans are more passionate than Cowboys fans. Come on, man. Here's CeeDee Lamb.
Passionate fan base, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
I can answer that.
Eagles.
Eagles?
They're crazy. Our Cowboys, our fans are deep, but they not. I don't want to say nothing crazy, but the Eagles got it.
Come on, man. Come on. Is that not electric? Is that not outstanding? Is that not one of the greatest things in the world? You got Dallas Cowboys players now going, yo, those Eagles fans are just different, bro. Right? You got the dumbass Cowboys fans who are losers walking around with that star thinking that they're cool because their team was good 75,000 years ago and the pride that they once had in that logo, pathetic. Now they're players who take the field nonstop with that fan base and that building and Jerry's World and blah, blah, blah. And go, yo, look Look at what's happening in Philly. Look at those fans. It's outstanding. It's outstanding. Zach Bond, to put it in perspective, right? Zach Bond, who was brought in here. What position is he? Nobody knows. He was handed the job during camp, and everyone wondered, well, why is he just getting all the snap? What is he showing? Vic Fangio must know something. And then he has an all-pro year. He was in awe on how he was treated at the Sixers game the other night. Bro, no one cares about the Sixers right now. The Sixers suck. You think it was cool to be admired at the Sixers game that had 6 people there? You wait. You're a legend here now. You do legendary shit in Philadelphia, it's got to be the best sports town in the history of the world to ever do special shit in. And I think CeeDee Lamb sees that. I think Michael Parsons definitely knows that and wants to be a part of it. I think Myles Garrett knows that too, if you know what I'm saying. I think he understands and wants a taste of it too. I think the winning goes a long way, and now free agents look around and say, well, that Howie Roseman fella, he finds a way to make it happen. Let's see what we can do. You know what I'm saying? We'll see where it goes from here. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for kicking it with me. Listen, you know I love garage beer. It's the greatest beer in the entire world. DrinkGarageBeer.com. 0% IPA, 100% light beer, 1,000% quality with the big day on Friday, right around the corner. There's only one beer to drink when you are crushing alcoholic beverages during that parade, and that, of course, is my friends over at Garage Beer. Thank you all so much. I love you more than anything in the world. Go Birds! Talk to you on the next one.